Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically Tuesday, November 4th. Our upcoming events, council is looking for feedback on the 2026 draft budget. Comments and feedback must be received by November 10th, 2025 at 4 p.m. and will be provided to council at the meeting on November 18th, 2025. The MRCC Christmas Market is being held at Rosedale Hall on Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. This is a great opportunity to pick up some one-of-a-kind Christmas presents and support local vendors. Angel tree tags are now available at the township office. All gifts are due back at the township office by December 4th at 4 p.m. Please ensure gifts are bagged and not wrapped. Our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Abbas that the regular meeting of council agenda dated November 4th, 2025 be approved as amended to add 4C Montague Recreation Culture Committee minutes dated September 22nd, 2025. All in favor? And that's carried. Disclosure of interest now or at any time during the meeting. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the minutes from the regular meeting of council dated October 21st, 2025 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from our minutes? No. I'll move on to our delegations. So we have Michael Pino. So a request for exemption from traffic brief. So if you'd like to come up and present, please.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Michael Pino. I'm here with my wife Robin, and we live in Montague Township. We're new residents who recently purchased 160 acres of land, and we're working hard to establish a small sustainable business called Wild Escapes, a nature-based retreat offering unique vacation rentals, otherwise known as rustic glamping. We've fallen in love with Montague's quiet, peaceful nature. Our goal is to create a place that brings visitors here to experience the same beauty, while supporting local jobs, farms, and creating ecotourism. Since early this year, we've been in regular communication with the township staff. When informed we need to rezone a portion of our land, we began preparing rezoning applications to convert approximately 8 acres of our property from rural to tourism commercial. We submitted our initial application in July and updated an updated version in August, providing every documentation requested so far. We've met with the staff twice in person at the request, and our interactions have always been respectful and cooperative. We have intended to be transparent, to ask questions so that we can do things properly and to comply with all reasonable technical requirements. Then in September, after months of positive dialogue, we were informed that the township would no longer communicate with us unless we paid a $50 an hour rate for staff time. We were also told that a senior planning consultant of the township now required a traffic brief stamped by a professional engineer before our rezoning could be accepted. These costs have been approximately $10,000 These costs approximate about $10,000. We understand the importance of following due process. We also understand that some developments have a higher technical threshold. However, in our case, the abrupt change in communication terms and the new study requests raise a few serious concerns. First, the traffic impact of Wild Escapes is very minimal. At full capacity, we expect about 240 vehicle trips per year, which is fewer than 1 car per day on average. For comparison, that's less traffic than a single family home with multiple cars. Second, no policy or bylaw has been shared with us that explains this new fee structure for planner communication or the criteria for requiring a traffic brief in cases like ours. We've looked through the township public published application materials and couldn't find any references to these conditions. Third, this request was introduced late in the process after we had already submitted a completed rezoning application and provided a detailed traffic estimate in writing. We don't believe that our request to waive the traffic brief is unusual or unreasonable. Robin and I are deeply committed to doing this the right way. We're not a large developer or investor. We're just two people that want to start a small business. We've already put significant effort into planning Wildescapes thoughtfully, ensuring it fits within the land's natural character and has minimal environmental impact. We've also prepared a full business plan, which we're happy to share with anyone interested in seeing the level of planning and care we're bringing to this project, as it has already been shared extensively with multiple township staff. Our goal isn't just to create a place for visitors to visit, it's to contribute to our local economy and showcase Montague's beauty. We plan to hire local residents for housekeeping and seasonal construction work, partner with local farms to provide guests with information on where they can buy fresh and local food. We see Wildescapes as part of the growing ecotourism trend that celebrates rural Ontario while bringing responsible revenue into the small community. Tonight, we respectfully asking council to direct township staff to accept our rezoning application without requiring a professional traffic brief. We believe our documentation and estimates already provide adequate information for a project of this scale. If additional clarification is needed, we'd be happy to provide a simple written traffic summary or letter, but commissioning a formal engineering report is disproportional to the size of the nature of our proposal. It would create a financial burden that would halt or completely end our project entirely. We also ask the township consider clarifying in the future how and when staff are directed to charge applicants for planner communication. As new residents and small business owners, we simply want to ensure transparency and fairness for everyone going through this process. We're proud to be part of Montague and excited to build something that contributes to the community. We value the township's time and effort in reviewing our application, and we hope council will see the sincerity and care behind our approach. Thank you very much for your attention, for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Any questions? No. Jeff?
Yeah, listen, first, this sounds like an exciting business that could come to Montague. So congratulations on first endeavoring on this process.
Thank you.
How many sort of like, I guess, spots? It's basically would you have like that you could house like per night? Like what would be the, like, are they like on a, is it like those sort of big tent structures on a foundation sort of idea that we see out there with some of those? Like what's that look like?
Yeah, so we have several different options. So the first one that we're trying to get up operational is we have a schoolie. So it's a full-size school bus that's converted into an RV. And that's going to be just essentially parked like permanently, and that'll house 2 adults and potentially 2 children. It's got like a bunk bed situation. And then every other location will house 2 adults or up to 2 adults anyways. And the first year,
we're looking to put 4 glamping domes in addition to the schoolie, so there'll be 5 units on the property.
And what's sort of your grand scale of what you hope to grow to?
That's it. That is the scale, 5.
so 4 more on top of the schoolie.
So you would have 5 there, and where did you sort of get your traffic estimates of 240 cars for the?
So that's based on like maximum occupancy. Even if if we're renting out from Friday to Sunday, that's every weekend booked up for every unit.
From what time to what?
A year.
Like
So
in
it's best case
January you can go to as well, like it's like they're heated.
It will be 4 season. It'll start off as 3 season, and then as we move through the project and upgrade and add on to the project, it will become 4 season.
And when you did your counts, did you take your counts as in the count in and out, or did you
Round trip, 240 round trips.
So you're saying 120 vehicles in total
No, 240 like
200
vehicles.
vehicles, because like, so when we do a traffic count, we look at the in and then we look at the out too as well. That's why I just want to clarify that. for our-
Yes, so
our
240 vehicles would go in and 240 vehicles would come out, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so like tires on the road,
40.
yeah, exactly. So round up to 500 is what your sort of thought process is where you're at.
Yes.
So, okay, I think that all my questions. I think that's all my questions. Thank you for that.
So just to clarify, you said it was 4 people in the bus,
Yes,
and then it was just gonna be 2 people in the other 4 structures.
correct.
And they're all like those glamping domes.
Yeah.
Another question, council?
Just clarifying, so you're talking about 5 locations, that's 5 vehicles,
Correct.
correct? You're talking 4 days a week,
No, we're just talking weekends as best case scenario right now.
but the weekends, you guys were saying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days a week,
Correct.
am I right, 5 times 4? I'm just making sure I'm doing the math.
It depends on how much people
But
book for,
But
right?
like,
They book for 1 night or 3 nights.
if you were at full capacity at all times, and let's say to go to the store, whatever, so you're 5 times 4 times 52 weeks a year, that's 1,040.
But,
So I'm just
but
saying,
you're taking into consideration that they leave every day.
you said that you're going to suggest, and I'm just, if you said you're gonna suggest that people go use our markets, that means they're gonna be going in and out.
So in our experience, we do this quite often, like we go and book
Yeah.
these places, we never leave.
Okay,
We are set up to stay for the weekend.
We pre-plan our food, so we would provide them in their guest book, like an idea of where they can pick up
Okay.
stuff on the way in, but they're there to stay for the weekend.
okay. But if they want.
If they want to leave, they
Is the
can.
option, like, if they can go for 1 day, can they
For
go
sure.
for 2? So that's, I'm just saying, when we do these
They can book
planning,
3 weeks if they wanted to, yeah.
yeah, so when we do these planning things, it's always worst case scenario. Not best case. Best case scenario, somebody goes there and they rent it for weeks, you have a really low traffic count.
Mhm.
If you have somebody individually going day by day, so it's another thing that we have to look at as a council to say, you know, in the worst case scenario, you're 1,040 vehicles in, 1,040 vehicles out.
If,
I'm
if
just-
you're going, so can you explain your math on that one?
Yeah,
Just,
so 4 days a week.
Yep.
5 vehicles a day. 52 weeks a year. That's 1,040.
Okay.
In, 1,040 out.
Okay, in our experience that
I'm,
most, yeah,
I'm just saying, when you do a traffic count.
Yep.
You have to go with the worst case, and that's not counting if they would go in and out during the day a couple times. Because they decide to go for a meal and enjoy some of the wonderful restaurants, some scenery, so just. Best case scenario is the 250,
Mhm.
worst case, so I'm just saying we have to also, as a whole, predict what that impact would look like.
Mhm.
So, but thank you very much for your input.
And for this, just because I'm interested in what you're gonna be doing. So you had 100 and how many acres you guys?
160.
160? Is it gonna be throughout? Or
So-
is it gonna be sort of?
We're looking to portion off 8 acres for it.
8 acres.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've provided multiple site plans, so we can make those available to the council if you'd like to see them.
Well, thank you. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I'd love to see that kind of stuff. I'd love to see what's going
Yeah.
on. You know, I'd love to see what your proposals are. It doesn't like sort of change a lot of that in that sense, but it's more of that interest sake of like, we'd like to know what's happening and the exciting things that can happen in the
Yeah.
township,
Yeah.
so for sure. So it's a,
Yeah, just let me know where I can submit the full, like the rezoning application has the site plan, so
yeah.
I could share that.
If you share it with staff can share it with us. So if you can,
Then you don't
can
have to-
share this to your council, then we're,
For sure.
we're happy to look at it for sure. So it's,
Mhm.
the other side, have you hired anybody to assist you in this process at all?
Not until we get acceptance of the rezoning.
Like for the planning side of it and everything else, or like a professional planner on your own end, or
No,
anything?
doing this on our
You're
own.
doing, oh, yeah. So, and the reason why we mentioned that too as well is, I hear you, and things are very complex nowadays, which is sometimes unfortunate, but a lot of people hire planners to support them in the process,
Mhm.
because there can be some things that come up. And that's sort of one of those things, I don't wanna get into the weeds about what the staff are to do and everything else, but as far as that goes, but it's just one of those points where a lot of people hire their own person to help them with that process. But I commend you for obviously trying to go through the process too as well, but we're just trying to understand that process too as well, so. Once again, I think it's exciting, I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I can understand sometimes the frustrations as you go through that process, but like, we want you here as a business. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's a really important part of it too as well. And we're listening for how these things kind of go through. And we have a lot of respect for what our staff bring to as well. So we're trying to understand. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your info.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council accepts the delegation by Michael Pino as information. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So our report of municipal officers. Anybody doing the one for? Okay.
So this came before council, last year as well. So this is just the MOU with the Snowmobile Club. So, to make sure that we're covered for the insurance and all of those good things. So I think they had, lost their member who was responsible for working with the landowners and the agreements this year. So they were a little late in getting in touch and getting themselves organized. And there was also some changes from the province on cutting some of the trail system. They had reduced, every club had reduced so much kilometers and things like that. So again, it's coming to us late. Last year we had this discussion that we'd get it to you earlier, but with the combination of them losing the person that has been responsible for that for a long time, and the province changing some things with them and them having to decide what trails were being cut and what was going to change, it's coming to you a little bit later. But again, we're just recommending that we approve it for this year, and we'll continue to work with the club and come back to council. There's been no issues that we're aware of in as far as with the club. They're always really good to work with us, and to be honest, our winters are getting like the season is less and less every year around here. So hopefully we have a good season, but it's similar to last year.
Any questions?
I was gonna say like there's a member, Ian Edwards is the gentleman, and he was a fantastic ball. He was a humongous loss to the area and to the rec group, especially the trail group that we have that we do with the county, and also the Snowmobile Club. They were pretty. It's a pretty big loss to that group. He was probably one of the premier volunteers you could probably see out there. I just want to bring that up because he was such a when I got to know him over the last couple of years. I mean, what a great individual. And just a key point on what Allison was talking about too, as well is Ontario mandated that all the snowmobile associations had to reduce 7,000 kilometers of total whatever trails and everything else and reducing it. So like it's been tricky, and they've asked the Ministry of Roads, Ministry of Transportation that controls like the costing of those membership fees to raise them, and they decline that too as well to help sort of offset that. But anyways, that's just sort of a backstory of what I also bring to it, especially losing that really good individual. So and obviously like this is an easy one to pass for us, so we continue. So thanks.
No other questions? Okay. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and second by Deputy Reid Carroll, that council approve the township to enter into the memorandum of understanding with the BEAST Snowmobile Club for the 2025-2026 snowmobile season. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is our planning manager for 2025 volunteer.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the report that you have before you this evening, we unfortunately didn't have any nominations for people who qualified for the Volunteer of the Year for 2025. So staff are looking for direction from council as to how they wish to proceed, and have presented three options. The first is that council does not present an award this year. The second is that council directs staff to repost a request for people to nominate a volunteer of the year, we can post that for 10 days and bring a follow-up report to the November 18th council meeting. And the third option would be that if council has, would like to move in camera to discuss nominating someone that hasn't been nominated thus far, that's an option as well. But again, that would have to be an in-camera discussion because it would be an identifiable individual. The financial implications are noted in the report. That typically the cost is about $100.
I'll open up for discussion for option 1, 2, or 3. Gerald?
I'm good with either 2 or 3. I think it's important that we have a lot of wonderful volunteers that do so much for this community. So I think not doing it is not the best route. So whether we choose to open it up and give the community another 10 days to give them the option, or whether we decide to go in camera and of the many wonderful volunteers, pick a name. I would hate to see us not have one this year because with the busy lifestyles everyone has, somehow it got missed, forgotten, and or other. That's just my opinion.
I kind of agree with Gerald. I think it should go to, I don't think we need to put it out for another 10 days. It's already been out there before. I think we should just go ahead and this council select somebody. That's my opinion for this year, and then hopefully next year we can get it out a couple times if we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I was kind of on the same thought process as Gerald is going to. I think posting it for 10 days, I think just to bring it, put it out there, but we also schedule it in camera for our next meeting. So we're pre-planning for that because we're gonna have to have that in camera anyways to have that discussion to pick somebody. So we might as well put it out there and see those 10 days and see if somebody comes in, and in that process, when it does, we then we have that in camera at that point anyway. So it doesn't hurt to repost anyways, and then just have that in camera in 2 weeks from now anyways.
And I think it also gives us time to come up with a name if that's the
Direction.
the direction we have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'd be my only point what Gerald just said was, we need a little bit of time to come up with names. Otherwise, we're just gonna.
So,
You know, fill in
it's not
whatever. But, so I'd be okay if, so if you wanna put it out for 10 days, it's fine, but I'm also good with, let's just schedule the next meeting in camera and do it that way. I'm good at that.
So we're going with option 3.
2, 3.
We're gonna do it 2/3.
If there's no problem, or if staff doesn't see a problem with that, I think a 2, 3 would give, again, 10 days for the public to watch this wonderful, it gives the public 10 more days to come up with some
And then
names.
we don't have to come back and have another meeting and say, okay, well, now we'll pick option
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
And
Any comments from staff? Is all good? Did we-
Sure. So I think us as staff, we tend to see a lot of volunteerism from our side of things. So I don't know if council wants us to kind of, similar to last year, provide some names and why, for people that are repeat, or if council just wants to leave it open to themselves.
I think sorry.
Yeah, no,
You're-
I'm in agreement, yeah.
I am a-
We always want input, the more input,
Yeah.
the better, like it's, yeah, 100%.
Just, we're not residents here to technically give somebody a nomination, I guess, but, like, I know personally, like, there's a few that I can definitely provide names and some examples as to why, if that helps get the conversation started.
And for me, when I don't know people's last names half the time, if I have something like that to go from, it makes it a lot easier for me.
And as I say, in that the schedule in camera, we can have those suggestions beforehand too as well in our agenda, so we can also be thumbing it over if we're drawing a blank, or we're like, you know what, that's not making me think about that. We have a little bit of time to kind of over the weekend too, so I like that too as well, yeah.
Okay,
It's fine.
so moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Bass, that council direct staff to proceed with option 2, 3 as presented below.
Option 3.
All in favor? And that's carried.
Yeah, that's right. That's great.
Next is our clerk planning manager, our 2025 accessibility compliance report.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So, every year we have to submit a compliance report, to, demonstrate that we have been compliant with the requirements of the regulations under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. So attached to this report is a copy of the draft report that staff will be submitting. And in reviewing the requirements under that report, staff have went ahead and made some amendments, mostly housekeeping in nature, to some existing accessibility related policies. And also have prepared an annual accessibility status report, which is one of the requirements under the regulations that annual status report be prepared and posted on the municipality's website. So copies of all of those documents are attached to this report, redlined where changes have been made. I don't think there's some of the previous regulations had been revoked, so the new regulations have been included where applicable. And if council has any questions with respect to these documents, I'd be happy to try to answer them. And the intent is that at the meeting of November 18th, the bylaws with respect to these amended policies will be brought back to council to pass.
I just had one question. When you get to the bottom and you go to the return to work programs and stuff like that, it talks about a bi-weekly meeting.
Mhm.
I thought in my past life it was always weekly, so has things changed that it's bi-weekly? It just in the past, with our HR and that, it was always, they would meet either on the Monday or the Friday, maybe it was just too scheduled, maybe perhaps overscheduled, but it was, I just had never seen bi-weekly, it was either monthly or it's a weekly meeting, but if it's as appropriate, then maybe that's just, or it's just something that, because I come from a company that's federally regulated,
Mhm.
so it all seems to maybe go that way, so maybe it's just different wording.
If my memory serves me correctly, I don't believe that the regulations specify when those
Okay.
meetings have to take place.
So it might
I
just
can
have
look in-
been, the NAV County just did it weekly because that's just the way they did it.
Internal policy.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just love looking at the past achievements, because it's like, this
Mhm.
just shows what has been done. I think that's another one of those things when people say, what's been going on? It's like, it's always good to look at those things to reflect and saying, like, all the great work that's been done. So,
Monty was way ahead of some other townships, I would
Yeah.
just say that. Thank you all.
yeah.
So moved by Deputy Ruth Carroll and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council will receive the 2025 accessibility compliance report attached hereto as information. And that council receive the 2025 annual accessibility status report attached hereto as information. And that council approve the revised accessibility policy, individual accommodation plans policy, and return to work process policy attached hereto. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is our municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, our infrastructure Ontario loan.
Thank you, Chair. So this is coming in front of council again. We just really want to keep council in the loop and for direction on, the debenture for the new complex. So, again, we're still, the heat tracing and things like that were just happening today, in relation to the new buildings. We don't have all of our, invoices in, but we have the large majority of our invoices in at this point. So we have been following the Bank of Canada interest rates because it will have a fairly large impact on us if they make some adjustments. So they did reduce it in September by 25 points and they've reduced it again at the end of October by 25 points. So I do have tables, they're showing, what the 10-year, and the 15-year loans were, based on Infrastructure Ontario, in January, September and October. And just the savings, from waiting from obviously June to October and the impact, on the borrowing. So over a 10-year loan, the interest is almost $100,000 saved, back in our pocket over I think it's supposed to say 15-year loan, sorry, at the top of that one, on the side it says 15, that's my apologies there. So it's a 15-year loan, and the payments, and locking in, on that 15, so just to be clear, whenever we're talking about Infrastructure Ontario, when I say 15-year loan, we're locking in for the full 15 years at that rate. It's not like a mortgage where you're reopening it in 5 years. So it does make an impact on us. So you'll see there that it's just over 110,000 savings in interest based on that. We do have to look at, and it's in here though, the potential of variable loans. So potentially we're gonna lock in 4 million for 15 years and 2.3 million for 10 years. So we're opening up that borrowing, we're opening up that payment that we already have set aside for other capital projects, reducing the amount of interest instead of putting the whole thing over 15 years. So we will do that more in detail to you of what that looks like and how we can fund it and afford it based on the decision that council makes this evening. So we do have funds, and I've included in the report as far as the construction interest that we've paid to September 30th, which is about 36,000. The bank interest that we've earned just sitting in our regular bank account of 44,000, and then our LAS1 investment. So that's our money that we put over to an investment, make a little bit better, of 73,000. So overall, to the end of September, we've made 80,000 and we've budgeted 90 for our revenue. So we think going to the end of the year, we can definitely wait until December and still not affect our budget if council chooses to do so. There's not a whole lot, there's a lot of kind of variations on what we're hearing right now for December is either it maintains or potentially drops. With it dropping twice, more than likely it'll probably maintain for December, but I think that the potential budget, the federal budget and all those things are gonna come into play here as well. So I would recommend that we wait, because, really, we're only a month and a half out, and we can make that decision. We have the funds and the availability, and my recommendation to council will be to split how we fund and for the length of fund that we do this. I think it's no different than you at home, you know, you don't put your house, your car, and everything all in one loan for 20 years, right? Your car might be 5, your house might be 20, that kind of scenario that we're looking at. Because our whole building's not gonna last that 15 years or 20 years. We're gonna have systems that might need to be changed or things going on. So that will be the recommendation, but I'm really just looking for direction from council on whether you want us, because it is a process to lock in the rate with Infrastructure Ontario and get the bylaws and get those passed and get them to you. So whether you want us to start working on that or if you're comfortable in the strategy of waiting until to see what December brings and making that decision then.
I agree with waiting till the end of the year. Any of the documentation they've talked about, it's hold or on the slight that it might drop.
Yeah.
No one has talked about it going up. Another reason to wait, I believe also, is that it'll take at least 6 weeks for the budget to go through Parliament and either they get voted and we have a Christmas election or not, which could also cause a hold for sure.
Mhm.
So I don't think we can lose if we wait till the end of the year. I also like the multiple terms. I think that's a nice way to hedge our bets with what we're doing. I know we all do it to a limited scale when we're talking about our car loans, our mortgages, business loans, things like that. You set your term for your situation. You don't bundle everything because you'll lose in the end. So I agree totally with you, Ali. I think it's great to wait. And I think that's what all the documentation is telling us. You know, again, you never know what's gonna happen. Trump could invade us and we'll find out. But it's one of those things where I think we can hedge to the end of the year. Once we get past that, we will know the budget, we'll know what's going on a little bit more with tariffs, and we'll go from there. So I agree with you. I think it's the way to go, especially with the term and to move it around a bit. I think we can make money out of that.
And cheers for you. So, and also in relation to that, so depending on when we lock it in, depends on when we start to actually make that formal first large payment, because it's usually twice a year. So if we wait a little bit longer, it also assists us in the sense that we may only have half of that initial big payment next year. So we talk about our OMPF changes later. So it could potentially allow us a little bit of breathing room depending on when we're taking that big hit as opposed to the construction loan amount. So I think there's a lot of positives currently based on what the discussions are. Yeah, so I agree with the recommendation, that you're bringing forward.
We're both in agreement.
Yeah.
Three of us in agreement. Without going through everything you just, both these have just said. I think we should wait till and do it then. Yeah. Make it short.
We're not gonna repeat
No.
it.
No.
No, it's prudent, I think you wrapped it up, I think it's prudent to wait too as well, I mean, I agree with everything except for the Trump attack, but I mean. Yeah. But, no, I think it's pretty, I agree, prudent, that we should do, so thank you for that.
Well done, Howard. Yes, very well.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council direct staff to refrain from locking in the infrastructure loan interest rate until the December Bank of Canada rate announcement, and that council directs the municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk to bring back a formal report for further discussion after the December announcement. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council approve the minutes of the committee of whole meeting dated October 21st, 2025, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council accept the minutes of the Marrickville Public Library Board meeting of September 23rd, 2025 as information. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, go ahead.
Just a comment on that, because I wanna bring it forth, I know we've all read this, but it's also like, I don't think everybody reads it, like obviously out in in that world. But the resolution that's in there about, from the Marrickville Public Library, it talks about the agreement that we have with them too as well, and the addressing of it too as well, and looking at the different budgetary requirements for it. So just being aware of that, we're looking at that. And on the side note too as well is, the Smiths Falls Public Library has shown some really solid big growth numbers since they reopened with their new library too as well. So as we have those discussions with libraries, it's just good to know that all of the communication information that's out there, so. Thank you.
Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council approve the minutes of Montague Recreation Culture Committee meeting dated September 22nd, 2025 as presented this date. All in favor? That's carried. Additions. Moved by Councillor Crabtree. Yeah, sorry. No petitions onto our bylaw. Moved by Councillor Bass, seconded by Councillor Johnson, that bylaw 4175-2025, being a bylaw to establish and regulate a fire department, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 4th day of November 2025. All in favor? That's carried. No motion, notice of motion. Moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council accept the correspondence for Robin and Michael Pino as information.
Depending on what council's direction is.
So, yeah,
The recommended motion is with no
Further
further
direction.
direction to staff.
but we were asking.
But if you would like something, then staff can prepare some for an upcoming meeting.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, obviously, like we had said, like, I'd love to see their business plan, that kind of stuff, and like, so that direction too as well.
That's
I
what
would like to understand, our senior planners, rationale behind a traffic study of something of this course of business. I just like to understand this. Another piece that we've talked about this in the past too as well, is I don't think I'm the only one sitting at the table that doesn't completely understand maybe the rationale behind it, and I think it'd be a good thing for us to all understand something like this and the rationale behind it, so.
Is this legislated?
So I think they'll bring us a
That's-
report.
That's
That's
the
the
because the other thing is, and I think that's where you're going with this, if we can't say no if it's a law that we have to abide by. And where do we stop and where do we start? So I think that's where we're looking to get that information.
But I think too, if it goes to the point where this is something that individuals are to have planners to assist them versus our township staff doing that job, then I think that's where this fee maybe is understanding. So I think that's where we need to perhaps.
The hourly fee.
Yeah, the hourly fee, and I think like,
That's
that's one of those pieces too as well, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I was gonna say, the hourly fee was not something I was questioning at all, I think we discussed that in the past as a group too as well. About where, and that's why I did bring it up about the professional planner to bring somebody in. Our staff are there to receive the information, to go over, to make sure that the information is correct and to keep it going. They do a great job in assisting at extra questions, but there is a certain point where if they're now being required for those things, there's a fee to it because there's a cost to that.
There's a threshold.
We've discussed that already, and then we brought it forth, we've had those discussions, I think we're all, I
I think-
don't wanna speak for everybody, I think we're in agreement that that is an appropriate side of making sure that our staff's time is being compensated if it's being extra on what the requirement is for it.
And I think we discussed this, was there not there was like a threshold, and then we said,
Yes,
and so that is a bylaw that we did pass.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're not being able to find it, I don't understand.
It's the fees and charges bylaw, so
So-
we'll make sure that it's sent to them.
Okay,
So I think that just keep in mind that the traffic study you saw with the wedding venue
Yep.
on 800 Court, and that was not a deficient road. Pinery is a deficient road
Yeah.
in there. Okay, so staff can bring it back. I'm not sure that's gonna be before Christmas, just based on,
well, I don't think they're gonna be setting up anything between now and Christmas for camping.
yeah, so I just want council to be aware that this is not uncommon. We ask for traffic studies and other roads that are not deficient, let alone a deficient road that also, cannot get 3 severances off properties and things, that there's different rules and different regulations that have been implemented based on deficient roads because of it being a deficient road. So, although, somebody might have the perception that it may not have a big impact, it potentially could. The wedding venue that thought maybe only 4 or 5 weddings a year, look at what the potential impact could be on that and the neighboring houses and the
Yes.
feedback you got on that. So just keep that in mind. And I think that if we can have some kind of direction on if you're looking for this to be a priority item that comes back or not, because, well, like it's November and we have budget at our next meeting and, like different things already established, so.
Yeah, if I could.
Mhm.
I don't want you guys to take on any more workload than you have right now. We've been through this before where you guys say yes all the time. And I think it's behooves us to make sure that you don't just say yes to this. If it's after Christmas now, this is my personal opinion. I'm more than happy to wait for some of that because there's a lot more important things and you already have full plates. And I don't wanna also dump something else on there when it's more of, it's a deficient road, and that's sort of what it all goes on. But the more that I can learn about that, the better, and I like the education piece that Jeff's talking about, but I really would prefer that we don't make this a priority, just my opinion.
I couldn't agree more, I couldn't agree more, I think it's once again, just sticking that education piece and understanding and making sure that when we do these things, that, and it is a division road, we understand that side of it too as well, and, you know, but we're also trying to incentivize the business in the township too as well, so I mean, there is definitely many lines to play, and obviously when a planner is not looking necessarily, maybe they are, but it might, and inside they're looking at what the road impact is, and maybe not necessarily what our business sort of thought process do as well. And I think it's just it's a good point, not looking to be an extra demand, just more of that, the more that we can understand it, we can make those right decisions, especially when we go through our official plans and everything like.
I agree.
Sorry, Chair, just through you. So are you looking at, because that's not gonna really have much of an impact on a tax base, because if a lot of the times those types of buildings like trailers end up having a policing cost with 0 assessment. So is that the type of information you're also looking for coming back? It's no different than storage containers. So that's,
Is there, even though when we rezone it took what's it
just
called?
because it's zoned commercial doesn't mean it's tax commercial.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's
So a
an
trailer
education
park,
too.
I'm just trying to, I just wanna understand from a staffing perspective, cause that now involves me as far as the tax side and what you're looking for coming from us, because a trailer park might be zoned commercial, Those trailers have no assessment, no taxation, but each one of them that no longer has wheels on them has a policing charge on them. So what are we looking at for information here? Because that drags a bunch of different departments
It's a
in.
good piece of information. It really is. So that.
Because it also has a fire component as how fire's gonna access these people, access these fire locations, how far into this 165 acres are they going? So I think the council needs to realize that staff have looked at all those components and I think one of the main things that was left was this traffic. So there's been ample time put into this. So I guess that's where I'm asking is how much more time would you like us to put into this discussion for the traffic?
I think it's important that they understand that there is more to it, and they might have to invest in a planner and who can actually take this on fulsome and say, you know, this is actually the implications. And you know, with a business comes an investment. And while we do really want the business, we want to make sure that what the implications are, both on themselves and on the township as a whole. And that's why I was highlighting, without going through a lot of numbers, just, you know, they think 250 vehicles a year, which is, you know, entirely plausible, but that 250 can easily turn into 4,000. Based on using one vehicle a day, leaving a couple times a day, or, you know, it really adds up very quickly. I think getting some more information just on the ruling is wonderful for ourselves, and I really do believe knowledge is power. Just to understand where all these rules and regulations come from, because staff doesn't usually just say, okay, we're implementing this because. Obviously, if there's ways for Montague to have more money coming in and more people visiting, and that financial benefit, we're not looking to say no. So we're not trying to put up unreasonable barriers. So I think maybe we might have to say, again, you said sending the bylaw, just to show them where that $50 an hour was coming from, and that it might be a prudent investment, that they put some money out into getting a proper planning, and go that route to get a fuller picture of what this entails. It's really good on paper, and it might just be a little bit more information required on both ends.
So there's no issue in bringing a report back to an upcoming meeting, in contemplation of this discussion tonight. I did make some notes that, you know, might clarify a few things for council, so I'll just kind of read what I have here because I haven't. So with respect to the fee policy, in 2023, council amended their fees and charges bylaw to include a provision to charge $50 an hour for planning applications for applicants who require assistance beyond the initial inquiry and one pre-consultation prior to submitting a complete application, which means that the application and the fee and any studies that have been identified by staff have been submitted. This $50 an hour fee is included in our fees and charges bylaw. It's also on the front page of the planning application where the fee is listed for the application itself. So the implementation of this fee stems from planning proposals that are more complex and or result in more meetings with staff, phone calls, emails, document revisions than normal. And generally in instances such as these, applicants retain a professional planning consultant who is familiar with official plans, the PPS, zoning bylaws, and planning application processes and requirements. In this case, the applicants have been advised as to what is required on their application and sketch. There have been a few iterations submitted and comments made back with respect to what needs to be amended and the studies that are required. So I don't think there's going to be any need for any additional assistance unless they change their proposal. With respect to the rationale for studies, so most planning applications, whether they're residential, commercial, industrial, whatever, require professional studies in rural municipalities to demonstrate that the proposal is appropriate and it's compliant. The type of studies required depends on what is being proposed and on what property they are being proposed on. That includes the features, the uses that are present on and in the vicinity of the property. So the township's official plan was approved in 2023 by both the county of Lanark and the township. It is compliant with the current PPS, and it contains provisions in section 5.8 regarding information that can be required for planning applications. And on pages 110 and 111 of the OP is a very extensive list of studies that can be required. And it's up to the planning department to determine the studies that would be relevant and what their scope would be. So for an example, one of the studies noted is an environmental impact assessment. This particular property contains unevaluated wetlands and significant woodlands in the area where they're proposing their glamping campground. But they're not proposing to alter these natural features, and what they're proposing to put in is temporary. They're not permanent structures. There's no excavation required, and there are already trails in place. So despite these features being present, we're not requiring that they complete this study. So staff, are using their common sense in saying, what is the benefit of an EIS when they're not actually going to be impacting that feature. Now, if they are successful with their rezoning application and down the road they propose something more intensive, let's say excavation, a septic system, for example, then an EIS could be required at that time. Because it's a commercial property, we have that ability to require it at any time when new development is proposed in a commercial area. Now, to go to the traffic impact. So the list in the OP is a traffic impact assessment. This is a much more intensive report, and it can be quite costly. So it's a study that can be required and typically is required for commercial, industrial, or institutional developments, as well as larger scale residential developments such as subdivisions. In the case of the Pino's rezoning, we scoped that study to be a traffic brief. It's less intensive and it is substantially less expensive. So there was conversation about a traffic count or traffic estimate. A traffic brief is a lot more than just potential vehicles that would be traveling the road. Traffic brief would include detailed description of the development proposal, a summary of current road conditions, review the access to the subject lands, review signage requirements along the study area roadways, review the existing capacity for access routes to the subject lands and estimate traffic volumes generated by the proposed commercial use, and ultimately review the impacts of site generated traffic on the surrounding study area roads. At the end of the day, somebody's development can't create a financial hardship for the municipality. So if somebody was proposing something that was going to be detrimental to our roadways, then typically you would require them to bring the road up to a specific standard. This study would need to be prepared by a professional engineer because there is some very technical information that's required to be included in a traffic impact study. Staff are very understanding of the financial implications to an applicant when they're applying for any type of planning application. But at the end of the day, development does cost money. Staff have been very upfront with the applicants from the onset, saying that, once we know the scope of what's being planned, we'd be able to give a better idea of what studies would be required. So there was never any indication that there would be no studies required, but we just wanted to make sure that we could scope that to what they were planning on doing. And now that we have a fair idea of what that is, the traffic brief was one of those studies that staff were very firm on requiring. At the end of the day, it's difficult for township staff to present a report to council to say that a rezoning application would be supportable if we don't have all of the information in front of us and to make that recommendation to council. So the only way we can make that recommendation is with the study. So staff are more than happy to provide you with a copy of the business plan that the Pinos have indicated that we're welcome to pass on to you. the application with the sketch that's been submitted to date. It still does need a little bit of work, but, you know, we're happy to, work with them where we can. We've given them the information, I believe, and, you know, we're just waiting for the most recent version. And we're happy to bring a report back, you know, when time permits, to kind of give more explanations as to the requirement for certain studies. That was something that was on the radar from the Ranger inquiry, when Mr. Ranger was here about an EIS earlier this year. So that is something that staff are willing to do and ready to do, but just time has kind of been a bit of a challenge.
So is there a difference between the study and the brief, or is it's the term study brief?
Yeah, so the assessment, it tends to be a lot more in depth. We don't typically see invoices for these studies that people obtain, but I've been told that, the traffic assessment can be in the ballpark of $15,000, whereas a traffic brief may be less than half of that cost.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that staff use their own judgment and some common sense, stating that, you know, environmental study, impact study was not required based on the information that was provided. You know, you're not throwing the book at them just because you can. You're saying these are the ones that we, based on the information, we should at least do our research and our homework with how's it gonna affect us. Is it negative, is it positive, and what's that gonna look like? So I think it's wonderful, and thank you very much for writing your short little report to give us a little insight of why you did what you did and the information that you pulled out of it. Thank you.
And just one more comment, the applicants did note that they've met with staff, and I did want to just clarify that the staff that they met with included, public works, septic, building, fire, and both planning staff. So we've all been involved, and those face-to-face meetings are important because it ensures that we all are working from the same information. So, you know, we've learned a lot from them with respect to what they're proposing to do. I've learned a lot. I'm not a camper per se. But, you know, I didn't know anything about incinerator toilets and, you know, half of the things that are in their business plan. And, you know, it's very interesting, but just at the end of the day, staff need to do their due diligence to make sure that council is making an informed decision. And so, hopefully I've answered some of your questions tonight, but I'm happy to bring back a report at a later meeting too.
Once again, I think that you bring a lot of information, which is fantastic. I think that's, and to be that, knowing that we're gonna ask that question, I think is just amazing too as well. I think it's one of those things where it's like the more, like you said, knowledge is power, just understanding it more. And like understanding, like even with that, is there a way that during that process tonight, because to me, a study also tells you if you can or cannot do it. And it's one of those things where it's like, could the study come back and say, yeah, you can't have that business on this road? Is that like, and that's one of those things where it's like, if it's gonna come back and say you do, like, that's what I'm trying to understand that side of it, I guess, too, as well. So, but it's once again, continually learning about this and trying to understand it, and we'll never be as smart as the staff that do this. And we just try to figure it out from the both sides. So we always appreciate this information.
And I think, Chair, through you, I think we have to be careful in, you know, not requiring someone to do a study just because it might be a financial burden on them and you know, they can't afford it or don't see the value in it. You know, we make all the planning applicants kind of go through the same hoops, to different degrees. So, I don't think that would be a reasonable factor to say because it will cost, because they can't afford it or it's not within their budget, that they shouldn't have to do it.
And right now, it's suggested a traffic
Traffic free.
is what the suggestion is right now. Not.
We're not requiring this. No, we're not requiring an assessment. No,
Thank you for all of that.
you're welcome.
It still needs to be amended.
The council has the information. And, you can change it to, do we do it? Um.
Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council accept the correspondence from Robin and Michael Pino as information, and that council direct staff to prepare an explanatory report for an upcoming meeting. All in favor? That's carried. So it's not on here, it's under our information, but one of the items is F, Leonard County 2026 Leonard County OPP detachment board budget. So the Leonard County OPP has moved to being under the county, so it won't be in our budget, it will be under the county budget. So just as information.
Just a quick one. Didn't you, when we met with them down in Roma or wherever the hell that was, propose something like that, and now it actually happens?
So it didn't actually happen. Lanark County chose as the
Yeah.
police service
Oh.
board to go ahead and run it through the county taxes as opposed to trying to break it out, to municipalities. So I think it's potentially going in the direction though that we were
That we were
kind of
talking
looking for. So
So we get credit for it?
So-
I don't know.
so I'm not sure though, do they need us to approve?
Well, it says please fund attached the draft 2026.
They don't ask for approval.
Yeah, review and approval, so.
I guess for council, just to make sure, like, can we do, sorry, Kirsten, can we do a resolution to just approve, the proposed 2026 Lanark County Detachment Board, budget?
Unfortunately, our technology here is lapsing because, Allison's emails are coming in days late. So,
I just received an email a
Yeah.
month and a half late.
so when I asked for it, said, I think I need this here. It didn't come through.
Yeah, we're having some issues.
Yeah, but yeah, Atlantic County OPP Detachment Board, we've hired a staff member that's currently under the county, and that's why we moved it all that way,
Okay.
so. Yep, yeah, so we've.
But it sounds suspiciously
Yes, no,
like
exactly,
we're
just-
talking about,
yeah.
so.
No, exactly.
So good work, Ed County.
Yeah. We would think of that.
We're gonna be taking that $6,600 out of the 2026 budget.
Yay.
Nobody wanna plan comes together, Ally.
How can we move the whole open?
Yeah, we'll just keep rolling downhill.
It's starting.
Yeah. $6,600 at a time.
600,000.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council approve the draft 2026 detachment board budget as presented. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So now before we hit, because we have no unfinished business, before we hit adjournment, any questions of our audience?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't ask yet, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
On the people that were here putting it in, request in, now I noticed you mentioned about a septic, like for a toilet, like a,
Incinerator
what was the word?
toilet?
Yeah, incinerator toilet. What about the gray water? Because gray water, you're not allowed to just dump on the ground, which if these, as they said, the bus would be sitting in one spot and the people, up to 4 people using it, or 2 adults and 2 kids. Where does the gray water go?
So we can address that in the report that'll be coming back. So, there is no septic system. It's an incinerator toilets. There is no plumbing whatsoever. All water is in tanks.
Like,
The holding tanks.
Water for, fire suppression and water for bathing is all in, pardon me? Oh, sorry, is all in, containers.
yeah, but when
Where's it go?
when you have a shower, where does that water
There are
go?
no showers.
Well, you said bathing.
I'm assuming like a cloth and water, not
Okay,
a
but where-
shower.
Where does the water go? It's not gonna, they're not gonna incinerate the water,
Correct.
so where does the water go?
That will be addressed in the follow-up.
Because
report.
in some campgrounds, if you don't have holding tanks, you're not allowed to camp in there
Mhm.
unless you're using their facilities.
Oh, yeah.
And what about the drinking water?
It's all, water that will be brought in, jugged water.
Would that have to be inspected like the water in the township is inspected on a regular basis? Because it's for the public?
Sure, so we have been in communication with the health unit to see if they had any concerns. And at the pre-consultation stage, they did not, but it will be, the application will be circulated to them, for their comment when we get to that stage.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions online? The moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Bass, that bylaw 4176-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on November 4th, 2025, be read first, second, and third time and pass, sign, and sealed this 4th day of November 2025. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Deputy Reed Carroll, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council adjourn the regular meeting of council of November 4th, 2025 at 7:07 p.m. until Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
You are looking at it. Oh,
If your papers.
welcome to the committee of the whole in-person live stream electronically Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Welcome. The land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the township of Montague acknowledge that this is the sacred land which the township of Montague is now located. This meeting is being held as the ancestral unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Please practice that, Trevor, so you said it correctly.
Practice every night.
Moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Councilor Bass, that the committee of whole agenda dated November 4th, 2025 be approved as amended to add 3C 2026 OMPF funding notification. All in favor? That is carried. We have no delegations, deputations. We are now going for municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Braken, senior active living center, coordinator position.
Thank you, Chair. So we have previously discussed transitioning from, it's currently a volunteer position that I take on to organize. And then we have the admin assistant Grace has been helping out a bit this year with this. So we've been successful with the senior community grant for the last 3 years. And then we were also successful in the senior active living funding, which is an annual grant. As long as we apply and submit our reports and all of the data that we have to collect throughout the year, of $45,000, which increases slightly every year and also has a capital component that we can apply to in addition to that amount every year. So with the changing and the increased programming and what we've kind of developed over the last 3 years, it's become more than maybe a volunteer that we can take on as a volunteer position. And we're looking, as council has discussed previously, at having kind of a part-time paid person that can start looking after some of these things. Obviously with the assistance still of me as the treasurer for the grant and the funding and the financing of some of these components. So we have developed a job description. Again, with this kind of being new, it may be adjusted based on what we put together and coordinate and the timing. I think currently 15 hours a week is more than sufficient. But it just depends on how much we get developed and continue to grow with the programming. So we do have funds set aside in the budget from previous years as well that council put aside for the $10,000 for senior programming. Because we have to put a portion of the grant has to come from the township. And we also can account for some of the wages in the grant itself. So when we apply each year, we can put in how much is for wages. We always do. For all of these, we always have a wage component, but I end up normally contacting the advisor and asking if I can just donate my time and use it towards another trip is what normally happens is we do another trip and we volunteer the time. So instead of the time being volunteered, we'll be paying somebody to start to do these things and hopefully grow the programming beyond what we can do as volunteer time. So again, our population here, 36% is 55 plus. It's been, I think, a very successful program and we've had a lot of uptick in a lot of the things that we're doing. So we do think it's important because of the amount of funding that we have to at least try this for a year. The intent would be to post it both internally and externally at the same time. We may have some people on the fire department, I don't think so, but maybe, and or potentially some of the rec members, I have no idea, that might be interested, and that's why I'm saying internally, externally, so any of those internal, like previous, if they have the experience and what we're looking for, would have priority over the external applications, but we'll post them at the same time. Like I said, we're still gonna be here to assist and continue to move this forward. But we are recommending that we go ahead and approve this and, begin the process.
Just to clarify, is it a permanent position or just while we receive the grant funding?
It's going to be, while we receive funding. Cause I think if we aren't receiving funding, that's a whole other discussion for council, because it's not just the funding of the wages, we're talking about the $45,000.
So then it's basically, it's a contract.
It's a contract, yeah,
Per year.
yeah.
I find the program is very good, and Ally started this program. And it's brought both our seniors together and the rest of the seniors of the township. And there's been some very, very good showings that we've went to as seniors, since everybody calls me senior. And they're very well run, and I'd hate to see it stop now when it's gone so far, and it is too much work for one person. Because I've seen how things have gone along here, and it's definitely, we need somebody now at the stage that, you know, as long as we're still getting funding, I think we should have somebody, you know, take it over, and Ally's still gonna do certain things, so.
I'd also like to put my name forward unless somebody else wants to be the council.
appointment.
Mhm.
I'm good with that too.
Question.
Recognize yourself.
I recommend myself, thank you. Ali, am I mistaken? We are guaranteed this funding as long as we continue to follow through and abide by the regulations set forth?
Yeah, but keeping in mind that like any provincial funding, like we're gonna talk about later, it can change and it can be
Modified.
removed and it can be, you know, depending on what party is in and everything else. So it's never guaranteed. I don't wanna ever say that any kind of provincial or federal funding is guaranteed, because it's not. And that's where, to the Reeves point, like it's a contract position,
Okay.
that if we have funding, the position is in existence. If we don't have funding, I'm not sure that we would be having the same conversation.
And the other thing is, again, to Jim's point, I agree 100%. This is a great program that we have going, but it's too much for staff. Staff already does so much, going back to what Trevor was saying earlier. That it's great to have somebody else out there to take that workload off, to have that work spread out and make sure that staff is not being exhausted in every sense of the word. So I think that's awesome, but let's go back to, before Karen puts up her hand again, the council approves the job description, she appoints herself. Is everybody okay with that?
Okay for me.
Is there anybody else?
I'm not gonna fight it.
I was just gonna go along with you and say, I agree in that this program has grown so much because it's run very well. And, there's a lot of interesting activities that they're doing, that it is definitely more than what staff have the time to do, because we don't have surplus staff like other municipalities that can just throw all this stuff in. We don't have a full-fledged recreation department and stuff that other people can, you know, other municipalities can do that. So it's time now. We want to keep offering it to the residents, and so therefore it's time we have to do this. So, yeah.
Not to reiterate everything, but exactly, I think we've grown it, I mean, staff have done a great job at building it up, and this is the time now to have somebody in there, and who knows where that can sort of lead to as we grow too, as well as other things in the township. And I guess we're talking about it being hourly too, right? Because so this week it could be 7 hours a week, and the next week it could be 18 hours, because like there's a bunch of events going on, so it's just kind of, it's all of that average side as well, so I think that's good, because that's the best way to complement those events, everything else, so.
So I think the only thing, we're agreeing with the description, where council approve a member for the to be on the committee. Is Karen on both? Is that what yours?
Let me go up on.
Just wanna make sure that,
So in addition to that, we're going to be bringing forward a terms of reference for a advisory working group, so that basically this person, and again, more than likely I'll be involved for the first little while. So that we're gonna have an advisory group that we're gonna put out to the public to basically have the 55+ members sit on that group to help direct what we're looking to do. So, and then hopefully get that volunteerism from some of them members as well. For example, like going on a trip, so the Senior Moments comedy trip. We as staff didn't go on that one, and we had a couple of seniors, that have been on several trips, and they took over making sure that everybody was on the bus, they were off the bus, everybody was good, they had tickets, all those good things, that's good. So that's the intent, is to get those people very involved and like it's, you know, so we would be looking for somebody to sit on, so.
It's the second one.
Does
Yeah,
it, does
the
it need to
council
be,
approves. So we need, a council member.
does it need to be the same person and?
I
can
think it
the
would be
same person?
beneficial probably to be the same person in the sense that they're gonna sit to meet with the hiring and then also sit to choose a member of the public. I think that Reeve Jennings has been around the seniors club a lot too.
I don't want to voluntold you. I'd rather make sure everybody knows what they're signing up for.
I'll watch it.
That doesn't help me at all.
Will Tom be there? Because Tom is trusted.
Yeah, Tom.
I might be the public member.
Did he get voluntold?
Yeah, okay, good.
Anything else to add?
No, I think-
So moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Deputy Reeve Carroll, the council approved the job description for Senior Active Living Center Coordinator. And the council appoints Karen Jennings from council to sit on the hiring committee. And further that the council approves Karen Jennings and the municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk to choose a member from the public, of the public from the 55+ age group to sit on the committee. All in favor? Carried.
Either Reeve or a company.
It says council approved.
Okay.
What did I say wrong?
No,
You can call her a company.
You did great.
All wrong. Actually, another week or two, you'll be able to get back.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
Oh, I'm good.
Reeve Jennings.
Because you're going to send Trevor later.
We're a team, we're all good.
I don't know why I let you guys talk to me. Every time you screw me up.
Because you're chair, you have to listen.
Next on the agenda is municipal manager, treasurer, deputy, clerk, Allison Brake, and facilities lead and operator job description.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this is one of those items that we had a discussion, council approved it being included in the budget. And I realize the budget has not been approved as of yet, but I wanted to get the job description in front of you. So I think some of the things even we brought up this evening as far as the facilities lead hand / operator is that as the municipality continues to grow and with the 22-acre advancement, and even the accessibility requirements, as simple as all the doorknobs that we need to change over to the lever style and all those things that we know that they need to be done or that we want to work on those things. We have lists, but it's to have the person and not be pulling public works off the roads and those priority items. So, again, we've had this discussion in relation to kind of what that would look like. We have developed a draft job description. And again, like any job description, we can borrow from other municipalities, but everyone is kind of individualized in what we need from that person. And as this township continues to grow, that job description is going to develop as well. But we do have potentially, obviously, some big plans for this person and things that would be nice to have. So the intent would be for November, we do have our meeting on the 18th for budget that we would post potentially after that, both internal, external at the same time. I do think there's going to be some internal interest as far as this position and the application. Again, it's similar to our kind of succession planning and having those casual operators in fire, that they get the training, they get the opportunity to try it before really fully committing to that full-time position. So I think we'll have some interest internally, but we'll post both at the same time in case. Do interviews kind of November, December-ish with a start of employment for December, January, kind of thing, if approved in the budget. So, if there's any kind of discussions in the budget discussions at the next meeting that indicate we're not going to move forward with this, then we'll have a number of changes in the budget with the second excavator and all those things as well. And that's fine. So it's just, we're just trying to get ahead of the curve. So that if it does advance through the next meeting, that we're ready to post right away.
Once again, I think we're moving to a direction that this position is a needed position. I always like in the job description that number, especially number 13, other duties assigned by the municipal manager, that really clears things up to make sure that this is what we're expecting, that you never know what might be asked, and you never know what else they might ask. And I think the other part too is, well, I think staff have tried to show this, and I think it's one of those things when the public say you're hiring somebody else, we always look at how can we do it internally, because it does make things more affordable and ends up being cheaper. And we have a little bit of control on making sure that job is done right. So like going up to contracts and having contracts sometimes, and I remember we've gone over this with snow plowing years ago. We looked at that too as well to see what the cost benefits would be, and it wasn't a benefit to us at all. The more that we can do those things internally, it seems to save us that money. So we're looking at basically reducing, again, any of those contract things that we could be doing to have that person do it. And then we know that we have a little bit more control over it. So I like when we can do things internally, especially when we have the people we have, like the managers and the follow-up, that will make sure that those jobs are right. We have competent people that make sure that the work will be done by their competent staff. And I think that's an important aspect when we're adding a person. It's overlooking to see, the work that we're doing and trying to keep it internal, and we don't want to run our public work guys ragged, because whatever they're asked to do, they just do it. And the amount of work that those 4 people do out there on the boots to the ground, like obviously, but the boots to the ground is astonishing. And I think like they've proven that they can use that person that can help then continue to support and do those things. So I like this idea. There's a financial aspect to it, but there's a financial aspect after this year's budget, the way that we're budgeting for it and we're planning for it and moving forward to it, that we have to be cognizant of. But it is something that as we're moving forward, I think is a really good idea, and should be, thoroughly thought about and discussed, and I'm on board. So
Just for me, when I look around at a lot of the other townships, they have a lot more people doing a lot less than what I see our people doing. And I think that we need to get up to some proper staffing levels. Like for a number of years, we've done it on a shoestring, and they've been awesome. I agree with you 100%, Deputy Carol. But it's one of those things too that we have to not burn people out. And I think we've done that to varying degrees throughout the last couple of years. So I'm with Jeff that I think this is something that we need to really talk about, really look at, and find a way to make this work.
It's the only way for the municipality to continue moving forward. I mean, we've had things that sat on back burners because of the fact that we didn't have staff to do it. It's not fault of staff, it's the fact that there's so much on the plate that took priority. We had to decide yes, no. Now that we've been able to move forward as well as we have, thanks to staff and council working together. But we've got new builds, we've got 22 acres on the go, we've got lots happening at our hall. Everything's just moving forward that you can't stay with what we had. We need to keep going because, as Jeff said, contract, you're better off to have your staff. You've got then backup. This is a split position. It gives us more backup for over there. And I mean, the fact that when we brought in having our volunteer fire as backup, trained backup for our roads, that was huge. That kept us going versus trying to pay for contractors, because during winter months, that's huge in other municipalities. And it's like, that's very costly. So it made sense. We had already staff. And that's the thing. We're very fortunate that our staff are dedicated to the township the way that they are, because they had the impact to say, why don't we help you out and do that?
Yeah.
We've got our license for the fire truck. Let's use it for other And it worked for them, it works for us, so we're moving in the right direction. So kudos to all.
Not much more can be said of the three counselors, but I agree, we gotta move forward. We don't wanna have the other staff members burdened.
Mhm.
It's much better, it gets along better, things get done, so I'm going towards it, hopefully. It manages it for the money wise, and I think something can be done for that, so.
And we have big plans.
The progress is huge, not to jump back in there, but the progress is huge, like, I mean, like, that's that whole thing, like, I mean, like, you look at this over the last decade of this township, I mean, like, I mean, you have those buildings at 22 acres, I mean, like Roselle Hall, like, I mean, and now it's busy.
Yeah.
It's busy.
Yep.
We needed it because things were gonna not fit and have issues, so I mean, like, it, and I mean, like, and there's also been even what we poured into the roads, we almost tripled what we put gravel on, a decade ago. There's so many different things that's being invested into as well. I know people always don't see that investment, and everybody's gonna have their varying degrees of opinions of if that was worth it, if that was worth it, if that was worth it. But many think those things are worth it too as well. And I think that's a really, really big aspect of this is we're doing those things moving forward and everything else. And I think those are important regardless of sometimes the mudslinging that you might get out of it. It's really, really important that we continue to do those things and we keep our head above that water because it's making a big difference. And we'd love to hear more plans because I think once again, it makes this township just better. Like it's just so much cleaner and nicer and more friendly overall with especially with all of like the last 5 years of the world has been really tough on people and mental health and everything else. And to make sure that we're doing those things, I think is really, really huge that we're moving forward. I think that keeps us we're on the right direction. I think it's speak about it now.
Yeah.
Years remains very hard for me to say anything.
Which is what we should do for the church.
Yeah. It's a lot of the other townships that I end up seeing at RVCA or something. They've noted that we're building pickleball courts, this 22 acre thing, the talking about slide hill, no one makes slide hills anymore. You know, so it's out there, you know, amongst everyone else. So the work is amazing.
Thank you, Chair.
Reeve, Jim,
We're okay, do you wanna say something?
I hate to reiterate half the stuff you guys said, but, staff has been amazing. They've really picked up the ball anywhere they can and, to much great sacrifice on their own. This, position is required, whether, the public sees it, the amount of vacation that's been paid out because staff are unable to take it. And the amount of overtime the staff have done to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. This is a needed position and it's going to relieve a ton of stress off of some of those positions and make it, an easier, more pleasant place to work, and make our staff's lives, maybe a little bit easier. And not feel guilty calling in sick. So that work-life balance, be able to take a vacation, because some of them deserve it and some of them don't.
He's speaking about himself.
Alec knows I'm talking about. But like, this is great, and, I think the fact that we do have some big plans, this is a great opportunity. And, we're a much needed position in the municipality, and we'll do great things.
And Chair, through you, just to iterate on that and for the public more so that it's not just the facility side, it is that equipment operator aspect in the sense that that next year, the big projects is to try and get as much ditching and brushing and get that drainage on our roads addressed as one of the biggest infrastructure issues and problems that we have in the township. So it's really to try and get ahead of the game and not just be putting surface on bad drainage and throwing money at projects that shouldn't happen. You know, we do get asked on a regular basis, like, why is my road not being done, and these types of things. So sometimes it's this type of work that needs to be done first to make sure that we're not throwing good money at a bad project. So that is the plan for 2026, is to really utilize that person and get not just the facility side and talk about potentially skating trails and all these nice to have things. It's also to offset, like you guys all said, that winter operation. And also to start addressing other problems with our infrastructure that we just didn't have the staff for. And it's gonna be substantially cheaper than contracting it out.
Moving forward and trying to, like, we're addressing those things, exactly, why are you not fixing my road, why? This is what we're trying to do, and I think this is fantastic, the way that you brought that up, this is exactly what we're trying to do, so anybody, you know, the 30 people that might watch this video, this is exactly what we're trying to do, and get that word out, that's the idea of what we're trying to do, and it's like, we are trying to fix this, we're trying to move forward, we're not sitting there saying, your road's fine, leave it alone, we're trying to continue to move forward, I think that's a really, really, really good point, so.
So on that, who are we appointing from council to sit on the hiring committee? I can always offer myself if there's nobody else that wants to do it. I guess it's me.
Go ahead.
Can I appoint myself?
I nominate you.
Not tonight.
Nobody-
But apparently you guys are doing that tonight.
Nobody's gonna second.
I second it.
Oh,
Oh,
there's a.
here, all in favor? Oh, I gotta read it first. Councilor Bowles, second by Reeve Jennings, the council approves job description for the facilities lead hand operator position, and the council appoints Joe Crabtree from council to sit on the hiring committee along with the municipal manager and our public works manager. All in favor? See, you put your hand up.
I thought he was gonna oppose it.
So I guess just for council chair through you, do you have an issue if we, like, does council anticipate that we're gonna remove it from the budget?
I mean, anything's
This one?
anything's possible realistically, anything's possible realistically,
But if we post it for 2 or 3 weeks and then have that discussion,
why not?
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's obviously to council, but like, just that we're ahead of, if you can always pull it, absolutely. We're not gonna have somebody hired in that
Yeah.
time, but that it's at least posted and out there, okay.
We have to wait till after we ratify it at council
Yeah, but normally you
But we're
guys
not-
don't change
though,
it.
but we're not gonna hire, yeah, it's not like the hire's gonna happen before then anyway, so if we start the
No.
process, it doesn't make a difference, I think. That's my thing, which usually don't be, yeah.
I think it's just more so for the internal that people are aware and they're getting their stuff
Yes,
ready.
yeah, that's perfect.
That's more what I meant.
Perfect.
And you find out who's who.
Oh, one more.
Maybe one more.
Sure. You, well, I'm just gonna apply for the position.
You can't, you're on the hiring committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's makes it easier.
I heard myself.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to serious business. Municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Verakin, 2026 OMPF funding notification.
Thank you, Chair. This is not a good news story for you, in relation to this, and I apologize that it was an addition to the agenda, but again, I've been having email issues with my old clerk administrator email, and anyway, so, we've provided, and all of this information is also provided in the budget document each year, so that council can see, the provincial and federal funding definitely varies depending on, the year and, what's going on. So we got our 2026 OMPF Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund allocation notice. And we're going to see a decrease. So you will see, and I've included all of Lanark County plus Smith Falls. And out of the entire county plus Smith Falls, it's ourselves, Carleton Police and Smith Falls that are seeing a reduction. So we're really seeing, a large component of our reduction is based on the assessment state equalization portion. So our assessment equalization portion in 2025 was about $50,400. And that's for any kind of, it's a calculation based on $10 per household for any house, for every $10,000 assessment. Every $10,000 in assessment that you're under the median average of the province. So we're now over that. So we've lost that entire $50,400. Our rural component went up slightly in the 20-some thousand. So overall, our reduction is $28,600, over 2025. So that's about 0.75% of a tax levy change that's not included in the 2026 budget. We have indicated this evening that we have about $6,600 coming out of policing, that will offset some of that. And we have some potential other savings areas that we can discuss about, during budget, but we're still being within that kind of 5%, range for a tax increase. But we'll obviously have to further discuss, but it's not a good news story, but I have included kind of the information, in relation to this, and, everyone else, some people did, Leonard Clemens got an increase of 170,000, and, Smith Falls and Carlton Place are with us on the reductions as well.
So when you look at that, it's Carlton Place and Smith Falls are more urban. And we're obviously not. So it's solely based on what you said, that's the intent of, so we go over the threshold. And then we lose that much money.
Right, so just for your example, like Drummond North Elmsley already wasn't even getting the assessment equalization portion. So that's why they didn't have it already, so they saw an increase in their rural and northern part, which we also saw, but because we lost our equalization,
Okay.
it offsets, right? So we did see an increase as well, in a component, but because we lost the equalization that they already didn't even have, they already were zero last year. That's where we're losing. So I think that, potentially that additional funding that they were saying they were putting that extra 50 million, the 550 to the 600, was for that rural and northern part, which it did go up, but we lost our equalization portion.
So like in our, sorry, I was gonna say, but, so we grew some commercial, we got some commercial money out of it, and then that brought up our averages, the weighted assessment, so we lost out, so we gained, and then we lost.
Yeah,
So like, it's great that we wanna promote the commercial side of things, and we wanna get that business, but then it loses out on the other end. To me, that's the wrong way the province should be trying to incentivize something.
Yeah.
I'd love to chirp at the MPPs about that, because it's one of those things, that's what we gain, we incentivize those commercial businesses to come, and now you're gonna take away that money from us, from anything that we gain from that too as well.
Make sure you send that email,
It's a, yeah.
to that MP that you.
So just a question then, so is there any appeal process to this, or is it just mandated?
so Chair through you, honestly, there's been many years where us treasurers are like, have discussions about, do we even budget to have OMPF? There's been discussions about removing the whole program for years. And I think it's just that, again, political decisions of keep it in, and they've increased policing, so we can't cut this, and it's no different than when we do our budget. It's very similar on, but there's been discussions, and you'll see even in our table, if we were down to 246,000 a year and we came back up, and now we're coming back down. So it might be an indication, with some of the funding or like components of funding that they may be kind of transferring of where you get it and where you don't get it. So again, like any provincial funding, like we spoke about, you can't be solely reliant on that because it could be gone. And exactly, even our long-term financial planning with the old gas tax or the CCBF, and the OSIF, we don't take that into account for our capital planning because
You don't know.
it could be gone, right? So I think this is very similar, and I'm kind of surprised that it's been around even this long still.
Thank you.
It'd be crazy devastating if because you look at Smith Falls, like they get, I don't even know how they get that much money, but anyways, but if that was cut from them, that would sink, like, it would sink so many municipalities if they were to go that route, right, so.
Keeping in mind Smith Falls is single tier.
So the county gets,
I didn't look up the county, but like, keep in mind they're a single tier, they're not like,
that's where the big difference is.
we're an upper and a lower, they're single, right? So they're like the city of Ottawa,
Yeah,
Okay.
a single tier, so I imagine those calculations are a little different.
skewed because of that.
They still lost $100,000.
Which is enough.
Thank you.
Sorry for this news, folks, but
Mm,
that's what it is.
You're on the list.
Anybody else for anything? Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, second by Councillor Johnson. The council accepts the 2026 OMPF funding notification as information. And the council will discuss the financial change during the 2026 budget deliberations. All in favor? Okay. It's hard to say in favor when you're not really in favor of the situation,
I'm opposed to this.
right?
Then we don't get any funding.
We have no reports of committees, no petitions, no motion or notice of motion. Unfinished business and or other, anything from the public? Tom?
On the senior activity living center, whatever that group's gonna be called. You were talking about Karen was gonna be on it as a council member and then a public member on it. Now, whoever the public member is, would that be a conflict of interest if they are members of the Montague Forget-Me-Not Club?
Chair through you? No, I think potentially one of the members that where we would be kind of looking potentially for somebody from that, because we've had that discussion of working with them on the advisory committee side of things. Yeah,
Are you hinting?
yeah, Tom.
Not yet, maybe. Okay,
Good to hold your
Brain
cards.
is still
Good to hold your
scrambled.
cards close to your chest. That's
I'm
good.
not gonna put you on the spot.
If
You know, I already
you-
did.
We got questions for
Yeah, there's questions for Tom now.
Anything else, Tom? No.
He doesn't want to point it out. He's not asking nothing else.
We got some questions for Tom.
Anything online? No? In that case, moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Councilor Dawes. The committee of the whole meeting, for November 4th, 2025, now be adjourned at 7:51. I gotta get my eyes checked. 7:51.
I guess I'm just not.
Marty?
All in favor?
Getting older.
He's moving up
You're
to
senior pretty,
Well, I'd be like junior?
junior, yeah.
Generally,
Are we done?
We're done. Thank you very much, everyone.